Is it possible to build your own radio-controlled jet aircraft for under $500? Can it rival pre-built foamy types? That is just what we're going to do here today. Can you really build a model jet from plans from the internet though? What kind of unknown challenges are you up against? Do you stick to the plans or do you make modifications along the way? What RC gear do you use? And do you use modern electronics if the plans show outdated ones? These, however, are the easier questions. The hard ones are: how much money will it cost and how long will it take you to build it? Is the saying really true? If you build it, they will come. All of this will come to light soon enough. Follow us on our journey to build and fly what hopefully will be both affordable and exciting.
For these sections, I used a long straight edge to keep the fuselage bottom square and plumb, with the straight edge on the fuselage center line. When cutting out the fuselage sides and all the other bulkheads by hand, this is just before I got my laser cutter, was when I really started noticing more discrepancies on the plans, such as the materials listed were not even close. Some would say, oh, 3/16 or 1/8 inch plywood here, and then the plans would be drawn bigger or skinnier. So I went with the average and went with what made sense based on other models I have built. And as you can see here, I started the fuselage construction of the balsa wood version simply by building the fuselage off of the patterns that were given, and I drew a center line, and then I drew a center line on all the parts, such as the bulkheads, and then started the build up from there, lining everything up very meticulously based off the plans. It frames up really fast once you have all the parts cut out. But then I started having more issues with the bulkheads not being wide enough, especially in the aft fuselage portion where the ducted fan mounts. Another noticeable change that I made was that I took the bulkheads for some of the parts and made them out of either aircraft grade 1/8 inch plywood or regular hobby grade light ply. This is both to strengthen the parts where they were requiring using 1/8 inch balsa wood, which to me seemed a little weak considering there's only a few bulkheads in this fuselage, especially in the tail section. I then used a piece of spruce to match the plans and add a stringer to the top of the fuselage. This is supposed to be where you put your thin plywood to help create the nose section. So as you see here in the next picture, what I did was I was having issues visualizing what the actual fuselage and tail shapes and whatnot were going to look like. So I elected to take some pink foam from Home Depot. I think this is like 1/2 inch thick, and I made a fuselage blank to kind of be a stand-in for the balsa fuselage while I designed some things. And then of course my mind started going a little too rampant, and I was like, hey, if I take this wing off of this airplane and this tail off of this airplane and kind of kit bash a little bit, I might actually be able to make a flyable foam airplane. So these might not be used actually on the build, but I was going for like a BVM type bandit type tail, and I used the patterns off of a Great Plains Patriot XL. And then as you can see in the next picture coming up, the fuselage and whatnot kind of lends itself to the shape I was going for, and I don't know. I then started using the foam version to start figuring out the servo placement in the tail, since I was going to do a split elevator system and an independent rudder system. The original airplane does internal linkages. I started making the mock-up to where I I was going to use an off-the-shelf 90 millimeter fan from a typical foamy jet. In fact, it was from a Taft Hobbies Viper jet. I then found a wing that was suitable off a World Models Vendetta Mustang, and I tried to adapt it to the foam version, and it did come out looking rather sharp. However, being a tail dragger airplane like the Mustang is, it doesn't really work very well. So I turned the retracts around in an attempt to make a flyable airplane, and my ground clearances were just way off. After tracing out some parts, that was when I soon realized that the inlets I made, while even still way too big for a 90 millimeter, were way off according to the parts that would match the plans. That's going to need some revision on the foam one. Then I got the bright idea of, hey, since I have a lot of time, even though I at this point have already laser cut out all the wing ribs, let me try to foam cut a wing. That was an adventure in itself. So far, I have yet to make a useful prototype wing. They come out miserably, and I think I kind of figured out that I can't cut the notches for the spars in the airfoil shape that I want to do doing a taper wing. So that might have some further development later on, trying to make things simpler, but I'll just build the balsa wing just to save face. I did, however, use it to try to see if the retracts that I had in mind originally for the foam version, if they would fit. So I know approximately what size the retracts would work on this project. So then, scouring the interwebs of RC groups, I found this 127mm Dynamax ducted fan conversion with a Scorpion motor of like 640 kilovolt. I've heard that it should work just fine. We'll see how it really performs. It's expected to make around 16 pounds of thrust on 12S. It is a beast of a motor, and as you can see, it takes up every bit of the room in this jet, and the mounting rails are not going to work as designed on the plans. So I'll have to modify that as well. So here's the nose section on the balsa wood. This is not actually a split screen, it's just the way the picture looks. But that is the canopy from Part Flower Plastics that I chose to use on the foamy version. And you can't really tell by the bulkheads here, but the top shape doesn't really contour very well. So I'm going to possibly try to graft on the canopy section from the foamy one. And it's in the works. These aft fuselage side pieces were located on the punch-out sheet very close to the bottom, and I never realized it, but this part really messed with my mind when I was trying to figure out how am I going to do this and put a bevel on it with this weird bulkhead that they showed. And thanks to a Royal RC manufacturing kit, I learned real fast that this is the same style, the technique that they wanted to use. So after some careful planning and trimming and modifying, I got it to look pretty sharp. So here we are with the hatch details. I modified from plans and went with 1/4 by 1/8 inch spruce instead of 1/8 inch square balsa wood here. It did, however, the glue did not stick from the plywood hatches bulkheads to the stringers, so I have to change that. I tried putting wooden blocks in there, and those broke with the CA. So I'm going to clean all that up and use epoxy to hold this all in. So when I wrap it with the 1/32 ply skin, it'll be super strong. I also installed the inlet brace that's going to reinforce and hold the sheeting up for that. And I installed the 1/8 inch thick planks for the tail ring. I couldn't get the strips to bend right without breaking. Here I'm taking and showing how I did the process on notching the former. I was going to try to notch it first, but then I ended up having to just straight out cut it off. And you cut a lot of material away, so that would be a huge chunk of balsa wood that you're just gonna knock out and throw away anyway. So this would be the best way, in my opinion, to do it for a little bit cheaper. And it came out looking pretty nice. It's going to serve its purpose very well. I just tacked it in with hot melt glue, so that way I can easily break it out, and then when I go to cover it, you won't even notice that these are even there. Unlike using a stronger adhesive. So what we got going on here next is I'm designing a battery tray to fit the two 6S LiPos to do a 12S configuration. And I designed it through the plans in AutoCAD. And here's the normal taper that would be the inlet as designed on the plans. Kind of realizing it's going to be hard to squeeze 6S batteries in there. So here I'm going to laser cut on some drink container cardboard, the pattern, just to verify that it fits and whatnot. So here I'm checking to make sure that the part punch outs will just fall out, and still wasn't satisfied. They weren't quite really where they should have been. So I adjusted the power until I was really satisfied, and I gave it a good go. The end result was now I had a pattern to go off of, and the fit was quite right off the bat, and my little standoff that I made was just the right height. So I decided to go to full production and run it with the suggested settings by the default value in the laser engraver. So we just finished cutting out the battery tray, and it took right at 31 minutes 26 seconds at, well, the speed and power is gone, but it was 150 on the feed rate, and on the S rate it was like 500. So it worked. Came out looking pretty darn good. The real test is how well is it going to come out. Nice. fun part. Now we're going to take it off the cutting plate. It shows promise. Two matching parts and clean off. And you can see very minimal scoring underneath, which is good. In fact, I don't even see that pattern. See a bunch of my other patterns I've cut out. So here we are. This is the pattern. I would say that's a success. Let's make the balsa wood parts and finish this project on it. Okay, well, I don't know if it recorded everything, but in this last cut I had to run it twice. I ran it without the air assist. I see some charring. But I ran on the first one with air assist that I built. And it did cut through. It probably cut through the first time, but I just wasn't sure. And you can tell when you have it raised, it'll have a, usually you get a laser reflection off the table. Didn't go through everything, so we'll clean that up. And it still did really good. If I would have had air assist on, it would not have oblonged my holes there. Either way, still happy. Still a very usable part. But I kind of generally sand them down a little bit to make them fit better. But in a nutshell, that's it. So a few other parts to add to the, for whatever reason Matt didn't videotape it. Wow. Record it. These are the top skins for the 332nd, not 332nd, 132nd actually, aircraft 5-ply that makes the top skins of the nose, the hatch, and the tail section. My laser cutter couldn't do the whole piece, so that's why it has a splice in there. I'm only limited to, you know, big giant whopping 15 inches. But in the grand scheme of things, what I'm going to do is, that's going to be a lot of trim to fit anyway. So I got my parts, and this is the top skin for this is the top skin. So I just literally used the one piece to make the tail piece right here. That's why this part actually matches what's missing out of here in the hole here. So I have those. I do have the one for the hatch. In fact, I was messing with that and fitting it to the hatch, and I had to move some things. So it's actually technically somewhere between here and the other build table I have, that's full of Christmas stuff right now. So once we get everything packed up this weekend and get ready for New Year's, I'll be able to probably jump back on the jet project and get it knocked out. Probably already seen, or I don't remember what sequence I'm going to do it, but there's the other spare parts for the jet. Got the battery hatch, and yeah, like it's finally coming together. And then I gotta decide on the tail. I'm not sure about the tail, so once I can get that all figured out, then I should stick to the plans. That's the whole idea, was to stick to the plan. So I'm gonna try to do that the best of my abilities, try to have some restraint, and yeah. But for right now, I'm gonna get out of the cold and turn my heater off, and I'm gonna go inside and go to bed. So, see you later. Well, here we are, in the middle of the build for the F10, and I got a few Christmas presents. I got the little fancy cool little light ring that everybody uses, and got a few other little things for the laser table. I got the wafer board, as my wife calls it, but it's actually the honeycomb. That'll keep me from using her little cookie rack that she so delicately put that she wanted back. So I'm gonna do that. Getting to the point now where I have almost all the parts cut out. There's a few parts I'm missing for the wing, and once I get those done, then pretty much really at that point we'll be able to wrap up the project. I do got to get stuff for doing the sheeting of the wing. That requires a lot of 332nd balsa wood. Probably going to go like medium density on that. And once I get that all in order, you know, with this being the holidays and whatnot, it's going to be trying to rock and roll on this project. It's something that's been a long time in the making. I've kind of put a few other projects that I started, like the glider project, on hold, and due to, you know, children getting older and whatnot, and then, you know, we had some family events, we had some death in the family and stuff like that throughout this year. It's been hard to make any progress on any of my projects, including a few of them for my buddies that I kind of build for extra hobby money. So there's that. But hopefully coming into 2024, wow, that happened. You know, we'll be able to make hopefully more progress. So here's to the rest of the video, and then I will be probably splitting it up and making part 2. So we'll see. Oops. Okay, so a buddy of mine that knows on the F10 project says they don't believe me that I got the extra parts made out. So there's my spare battery hatch that I made just in case I need to relocate the battery. I went on ahead and cut out the 1/4 inch wing mounts that are indicated on the plans. However, my laser, even though it probably could do it, it was charring more than it was actually cutting. So I just went ahead and just cut them out on my Harbor Freight scroll saw, or jigsaw, not scroll saw. And just gotta drill out the holes, no big deal. So I got those. I made a few gussets to help with the canopy hatch, or I can even use them in the corners for like servo hatches. Not really sure. I'll probably actually make servo boxes for those on the wing, but I made a few of those actually in the baggie. So we'll put those back up. Of course, there's the parts that we last cut out on the laser. Cleaned up the edges really nice. A few little char marks, but I didn't want to sand too much until I actually really start building it up and fit it to the airplane. So put that all in the bag. There's my little toolboxes. Those are the mini Cobalt boxes from Lowe's. They're a little bit smaller than I anticipated, but I think I can make them work out pretty good. Yeah, I'm gonna try to do my sandpaper and stuff on. Oops, I want to put it on. Stay right there. Canopy top, F5. On the plans. The bulkhead F4 that I'm not going to use because it's balsa wood and it's in the way of the battery, and you can't cram 2 6S batteries in between every bulkhead. And then I have the mounting plate that goes behind the canopy. I forget if that's actually numbered on the plans, and this is why you should always keep a copy of the plans nearby. So yeah, it just says F5 or F 1/8 inch plywood, bulkhead number 5. So it's just a plate. I always print out a mini copy of the plans. It helps, and I kind of, you know, probably can't see it really well, but I did label a few things. So there's that. Put that in the baggie before I lose it. Now comes the other goodies that for some reason I didn't get videos of, but I did laser cut the spars. This is when I first got my laser, and I didn't exactly cut them deep enough, so I actually finished cut these on the Harbor Freight saw down there. I left these unnotched because I really think that kind of weakens it. There's not much meat there, especially on this skinny one. But we'll see. So I do got the spars, my little inlet pieces that were trimmed to fit my airplane. I did laser cut out the don't have the little wing plans in front of me, but these are the go in between ribs. I believe these are for the spare they're the fuselage sides. I did not get this on video for some reason, but the hatch, I laser cut it and blew the holes through nice and pretty, so that was awesome. All the ribs are nice and laser cut. It's an itty bitty little guy. It does have a unique shape to the ribs. You can kind of see it here. Has more of a curvature on the top than on the bottom. It's not fully symmetrical, but it's a semi-symmetrical. And then it has a kind of a weird cord line to it. I found that out when I was actually trying to hot wire cut the foam wing. There's that. And then this is the nose bulkhead. I don't have the nose in front of me, but right here on the plans, you have where the nose wheel goes. Well, you can kind of see it right here. It has a little tray, and then you're supposed to have the air tank sitting on top of it. Well, it's supposed to have kind of like a little 45-degree kink in the front side like that, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a flat one, but instead of having my nose wheel straight up and down because it acts like a pogo stick when you land, I'm going to actually kind of have my landing gear kind of kinked, raked back just a little bit. Just to kind of make it look like it's going fast, probably. Or I'll end up doing it straight if I don't have room. But the hole, I went ahead and laser cut it so that way I can have it when the landing gear retracts back, which is just stand-in mechanical retract. When the gear retracts back, the landing gear can, or the wheel will actually poke through the hole. So that's going to probably be really handy. Still kind of working on that. And then very carefully out of the 1/16 ply, you can see I still got to do a little bit of trimming right there. I matched cut the gear doors and the ones that go kind of in the wing. When the gear close, the wheels will touch those and close them up. So we do have the gear doors. Excuse me. And then we have, must have been in a hurry. I think I had to go to church that day or something. I do have the 2 and 2 sets. Yeah, got to do a lot of trimming on that. For some reason, probably I was rushing and didn't have the laser fully set. But I was able to laser cut the 1/16 plywood reinforcement ribs that go right at the root. No, I'm sorry. These were reinforced the retract ribs, or the ribs that hold the rails for the retract. So there's that. So pretty much have every part that I'm going to need to build the wings, except for the sheeting. That I'm gonna have to order. It's gonna require, I think I calculated it like 6 2.5 inch or 3 inch wide panels per skin, and then I gotta do top and bottom, so do some trigonometry there. You never do math on the internet because somebody's gonna say you're wrong. And pretty much knock that out. Probably order it from insert company here at some point. I'm gonna see who has the best price. I'm not gonna lie. Hobby be expensive, you know. So we're gonna make progress. This thing has been taking quite a while. There's me. And the top of my workbench is kind of junky right now. I didn't have to do a little bit cleaned up. Ooh, where are you going, Cameron? Yeah. Hopefully we can get it knocked out. That'd be great, wouldn't it? We get it all knocked out, and then, you know, y'all can see an airplane fly. I can see an airplane fly that I've been working on and wanting to have and play with. I mean, I got my turbine powered jet right there, but, you know, let's build a balsa wood EDF. But I don't know why I'm proud of the battery tray. It's like the first thing that like perfectly came apart and did what it was supposed to do when you took it off the laser cutter. So there's that. I will have to order batteries. That's going to be another thing. So hopefully, I want to donate some money. That'd be great. I'll put my PayPal link in the after part. But please donate $5 to save an airplane project today. We'll greatly appreciate it. Yeah. So it's late at night. The wife and kids are asleep. I should have probably been in bed an hour or two ago. But been trying to get out here and do some cleanup after the holidays. Still got New Year's coming up. So yeah, hopefully we'll get a few more things knocked out. Clear off the workbench from the laser and throw the jet up here and start throwing parts at it and finish one more thing. So have fun. Thank you guys.